Hi, this is Speak Out TV. I'm Siobhan, and today I've got to share with you my thoughts about this TED Talk that was released last week. It's a lady sharing her story of rape and how she came to forgive the man who raped her, whilst the man who raped her is also on the stage. When I first watched this talk, I came away feeling really tense and uncomfortable, and it took some time for me to put those feelings into words. As you probably know by now, I have direct experience of sexual assault, and for me, the idea of sharing the same breathing space as the person who abused me is unfathomable. I want to start off by saying that I support this lady's prerogative to do whatever she needs to do to move on from such a horrible experience. I'm just not sure why the rapist needs to share the same platform. Towards the end of the talk, there's this part about how the language around this subject is dehumanizing, and to call someone the rapist is dehumanizing. In my view, it's using the correct term that's relevant to the context of whatever we're talking about. He may also be, as he points out, a surfer and a friend of good people, but this is not a talk about his hobbies or connections. This is a talk about the time that he raped someone, and more importantly, her decision to forgive him. I think the emphasis of the talk should be on the lady and how she saw fit to do that and go through that process. Put simply, I'm not sure why he's there. Look, I don't want to be cynical. I try hard to understand things clearly instead of making a knee-jerk judgment, but this leaves so many questions unanswered for me. For instance, how do you go from "you're the man who raped me" to "shall we do a TED Talk together"? I would have liked to hear more about that, because without that, the presentation felt kind of unreal for me and it was difficult for me to understand. I did not get the impression that the surfer was sorry enough for what he's done. That's my view. If it sounded odd for me to refer to him as the surfer instead of the perpetrator or the rapist, that's because the facet of this man's identity that is a surfer is not relevant to the subject at hand, obviously. It kind of reminds me of that other guy who sexually assaulted someone, and in the reports they couldn't help but mention what a good swimmer he was. And I was thinking, yeah, but he assaulted someone. Yeah, but he's good at swimming. Yeah, but he assaulted someone. Yeah, but he's good at swimming, but he assaulted someone. Yeah, but swimming! Will someone think about the swimming? The man in the TED Talk doesn't talk about what practical action he's taking to support survivors of sexual violence now. I hope that he's doing more than appearing on such prestigious platforms as TED, because for me that sounds like more of a reward than anything else. Although there is some talk from him of making amends, for me that would need to be backed by action in order for me to take it more seriously. So, for example, he could turn himself in. Come to think of it, I'm not sure why someone can admit to committing such a serious crime and for that to not lead to an arrest, but then again, there's a lot I don't understand. Apparently, both the lady and the man who raped her have been invited to speak at the next W.O.W festival. So far, I've heard nothing but resistance from the survivor community, and I can see why. I mean, I felt weird even saying that. I think that it is important to include the perpetrators of sexual violence in the overall discussion about sexual violence, about how to end sexual violence. There are organisations set up specifically to work with offenders, and I think that their work is valuable and needed. Definitely we need to understand the motivations behind the people who perpetrate these crimes and how society as a whole is contributing to those mindsets. But, and it's a big but, I think there needs to be a clear boundary between working with offenders and supporting those who are on the receiving end of their crimes. Without that boundary in place, we run the risk of undermining the impact of sexual assault, the seriousness of the crime, and we also leave the door open for the survivor to feel that maybe they did something to bring that event upon themselves in some way. I think that whoever makes a decision regarding the W.O.W festival should be mindful of that. Well done for making it to the end of this video. I would love to know your thoughts. As I mentioned before, I am not pre-committed to my point of view, and I would like to understand. In fact, I would prefer to have missed the point, because otherwise this TED Talk has really upset me. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week.